He was rejected by every company he approached. His family fell apart. His son died in his arms. And the world called him a failure more than once. But today, that man's name is on the most expensive, most desired car on the planet. This is not a story about luck. This is a story about obsession and what happens when a man refuses to die quietly. This is the story of Enzo Ferrari. Ferrari does something almost no brand on earth can do. It makes the rich feel unqualified. Not because they can't afford the car, but because money alone is never enough. You can be famous, you can be a billionaire, you can own a garage full of supercars, and still, Ferrari can look you in the eye and say no. That's what makes this story so strange. Because Ferrari wasn't built by a prince, or a corporate empire, or a Silicon Valley genius. It was built by a boy from a small town in Italy. A boy who grew up surrounded by metal dust, grief, and the scars of war. A boy who turned raw obsession into the most powerful name in automotive history. This is the story of Enzo Ferrari, and how he created a brand the world desperately desires, but can never fully own. Enzo Ferrari was born on February 18, 1898 in Modena, Italy. He did not come from luxury. His father, Alfredo, ran a small metalworking shop. Practical, hard, honest work that barely kept the family fed. But one day, his father took young Enzo to a motor race. And in that single moment, everything changed. The roar of engines, the smell of burning fuel, the danger, the speed. For most children, it would have been entertainment. For Enzo, it became destiny. While other kids dreamed, Enzo fixated. And that difference is everything. Dreamers admire greatness. Obsessive people build it. Then life struck with brutal force. World War I tore Europe apart. Enzo served in the Italian army. Around the same time, tragedy destroyed his family. His father died. His brother died. He returned home broken, grieving, with almost nothing. But he had one thing left: his obsession. He applied to Fiat, the giant of Italian automobiles. They rejected him. Let that sink in. The man who would later create Ferrari was once told no by the very establishment he worshipped. That rejection could have ended everything. Instead, it lit a fire. It gave Enzo Ferrari something far more dangerous than talent: a reason to prove the entire world wrong. Enzo eventually broke into the car world. He drove, he competed, he learned. Then came Alfa Romeo. By the 1920s, he wasn't just a driver anymore. He understood racing at a deeper level: strategy, preparation, team management, pressure. In 1929, he founded Scuderia Ferrari. At first, it wasn't a car company. It was a racing team that ran Alfa Romeo machines. But here, Enzo's true genius emerged. He wasn't just chasing victories on the track. He was building mythology. Scuderia Ferrari became synonymous with elite competition, technical brilliance, and unrelenting ambition. Long before anyone could buy a Ferrari road car, the name already commanded fear and respect. Because Ferrari was never born as just a car brand. It was born as a belief system. A machine must win. A name must intimidate. And excellence must never feel ordinary. In 1939, Enzo left Alfa Romeo, but a non-compete clause forced him to wait. He waited patiently, built quietly. Then, in 1947, the first car officially wearing the Ferrari badge roared to life. The Ferrari 125S. A hand-built 1.5-liter V12. Compact, beautiful, dangerously ambitious. That car didn't just move fast. It announced to the world that Enzo Ferrari had crossed the line. From racer to creator. Here's the truth most people miss. Enzo didn't build road cars because he loved luxury. He built them because racing was expensive. The road cars funded the real obsession. Competition. Victory. Immortality. The luxury icon came later. The racing soul came first. Many companies make fast cars. Ferrari created something far more powerful than speed. It created meaning. Through decades of Formula One dominance, the most successful team in the championship's history, Ferrari's racing DNA became legendary. A Ferrari wasn't transportation. It wasn't even just engineering. It was proof. Proof that you had entered a world of rarity, taste, and performance that most humans would never touch. Enzo understood a brutal truth long before it became marketing jargon. Scarcity creates desire. If everyone can have it, it stops feeling special. So Ferrari stayed selective. Low volume, high mystique, maximum aura. In 2024, Ferrari delivered just 13,752 cars, yet achieved an EBIT margin of 28.3%. In 2025, that margin rose even further to 29.5%. That is not normal car company behavior. That is luxury psychology, executed at the highest industrial level. But behind the glory, Enzo Ferrari's life was never clean or glamorous. It was soaked in grief. In 1956, his beloved son Dino, Alfredo Ferrari, died young after a long, painful illness. Those close to Enzo said the loss changed him forever. The man became darker, more reclusive, more driven. This is what separates Enzo from today's polished billionaire founders. He wasn't warm. He wasn't trying to be liked. He was trying to build something that could outlive unbearable pain. For men like him, machines stop being machines. They become control, memory, defiance against death itself. Ferrari wasn't just a company. It was Enzo's answer to loss. Then came one of the greatest rivalries in motorsport history. In 1963, Ford tried to buy Ferrari. Negotiations went far, then collapsed dramatically. What followed was war on the track, most famously at Le Mans, where Ford poured everything into defeating Ferrari, and finally succeeded in 1966. Most brands become famous through advertising campaigns. Ferrari became legendary through conflict. Conflict with rivals, conflict with limits, conflict with the world. That kind of mythology cannot be created in a boardroom. It has to be earned through obsession, humiliation, and revenge. And Ferrari had all three. Here's where Ferrari becomes truly unique. It evolved into a ruthless gatekeeper of its own image. Through selective allocations, strict rules on modifications, and aggressive protection of its brand, Ferrari made one thing clear. You may own the car, but you never fully own the name. Stories like the dead mouse Ferrari, where Ferrari objected strongly to custom badging and styling, show how seriously they guard their aura. The power isn't that they control every single owner. The real power is that everyone believes Ferrari is always watching. In the world of luxury, perception is power. Some brands beg to be loved by everyone. Ferrari built a brand that grows stronger by saying no. Enzo Ferrari died on August 14, 1988. But the machine he built never stopped. Because Ferrari was never really selling cars. It was selling admission into a myth. A myth born in the metal shops of Modena. Forged in war and rejection. Fed by racing glory. Protected by ruthless scarcity. And shaped by the iron will of a man who refused to compromise. Today, Ferrari stands as one of the purest examples that the most powerful brands don't win by pleasing the world. They win by standing for something so intensely that the world has no choice but to bend toward them. A black prancing horse. A yellow shield. A name that still makes millionaires feel small. That is not just branding. That is Ferrari. Shattered by greed. And yet, the boy from Modena built an empire that today is worth over $50 billion. An empire built not on volume, but on desire. Not on accessibility, but on obsession. Not on what the market wanted, but on what Enzo Ferrari believed the world deserved. There's a lesson in that. The greatest brands aren't built by chasing customers. They're built by people so obsessed with their craft that the world comes to them. That is the story of Ferrari. That is a billion story.